Welcome, everyone, to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiggin, and so glad that you are here with us. If you're catching us on the live stream, welcome. We'll do some shout outs here in a minute. If you're catching us on YouTube after the fact, thank you for finding us. If you like the content that you're seeing on this video, please do us a favor, like and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. That way, you're notified every time a new video like this drops into our channel. You can also send comments on there. I try to respond to as many as possible. I don't get them all, but I try to get as many as possible. And with that being said, let's see who is checking in tonight live on the live feed. I see Rogan, DG Model Works is in the house, Greg, Jason, David is here, Ronald, and let's see, as NSWLE, Rathbaster, Canadian Locomotive Logistics, Terry LaFrance, Jason, David, just to name a few. We've got a pretty good full house here tonight. I want to thank you for joining us. We're going to be talking about a brand new model tonight, one that we talked about at TrainFest. We actually announced it at TrainFest, and that's a brand new HO scale car. We're also going to be talking about some trailers. If you're a modeler of the 1980s into the 90s, you're going to want to stay put because we're going to be talking about some trailers that you might want to add to your layout, whether it be at an industrial park or on a city street or highway. You might want to add these trailers to your fleet. That being said, let's do another round of shout outs. I see David has joined the chat. Ronald, Donnie is here. Rodney is here. And Chessie MS8595 has checked in, Ronald, and many, many more. So thank you for joining us on this Tuesday, 1 week away from, believe it or not, Christmas Eve. That being said, I want to let everybody know that next Tuesday's Train Tuesday will be pre-recorded, mainly because it's the start of the Christmas holiday. Many folks are busy with Christmas traditions on Christmas Eve, so next Tuesday will be pre-recorded, and you'll see that drop into our YouTube channel next week at 7 o'clock p.m. Central. So that being said, let's get started and start talking about this brand new model by Athearn. So like I said, we announced the Pullman, the 60-foot Pullman common standard postal car at TrainFest just a little under a month ago. And a lot of you guys were really happy to see this. It's been a little bit since we've done this vintage of a new passenger car. A lot of folks have asked me, hey, you're doing the postal car, are you going to do other cars as well? Well, stay tuned because you're probably going to be pretty happy throughout the year of 2025. This is probably not going to be the only release under this series. So let's talk a little bit about the common standard postal cars. Now, generally, they were designed to expedite the handling of mail by postal clerks. Now, the interior of these prototype cars often featured letter cases, sometimes referred to as pigeonhole cases, on Pullman prototype plans. There was also pouch racks, bins, drawers, and sorting tables. Now, a mail overhead electrical or even earlier gas lamps. Now, mail sack catcher arms were typically located at a door on either side of the car so that mail sacks could be picked up on the fly without stopping the train. Now, depending on the volume of mail, additional postal cars could be found in a consist to be used for the storage of mail. Typically, a toilet, a stove, a container for water, and other amenities would normally be provided for the comfort of the clerks, who typically handled first-class mail, newspapers, and parcel post materials. Now, the use of trucks and airplanes for transporting mail increased significantly into the 1960s, and by that time, postal cars had started fading from American railroad history. However, their use remains as a significant part in the history of mail service. Let's go back to 1911 and let's think about how much different it was over 100 years ago. Back then, just about every town had a depot, and that depot would send and receive mail through these types of cars. Of course, these cars were usually added to passenger consists, and of course, since passenger had priority and they were typically the faster of the trains, mail got to their designations pretty expediently. A lot different than what we do nowadays. Some may even argue that it was probably a little bit better in the old days. I guess that depends on your perspective. But that being said, let's talk about what we're going to be offering for this initial run of this new model. So the first one that you see on the top of your screen right now, this is a 1911 era Union Pacific. Now, the three cars that I'm going to be showing you, we're going to be offering these as a single car as well as a two-car set. So that way, if you need to have a postal storage car in your consist, you can have that. Now, the Union Pacific car that you see on your screen right now is lettered 1251, and the two-car pack will be lettered 1252 and 1524. Now, the nice thing about these models is you're going to hear that there's going to be subtle differences between the models for the road as well as the era. For instance, the Union Pacific will feature an underbody gas tanks. That was pretty much how they were originally built, how they were originally designed. Again, we're talking 1911. This one is going to have pressed steel side doors. You're going to see that this is one of the few that has that one. And of course, it's going to have the mail catcher arms. In the middle of your screen, you'll see Southern Pacific. Again, this is a 1911 era car. It's also going to be offered as a single as well as a two-car set. Single is going to be 4254. The two-car set will include 4255 and 4257. It too is going to have an underbody gas tank, but it's going to have wooden side doors. Of course, it will have mail catcher arms. And then last, not too far from my neck of the woods right now, we've got Illinois Central. This is the single car, number 80, and we're also doing a two-car set, 81 and 82. Again, 1911 era, so this is going to have the underbody gas tanks. This will have pressed steel side doors, unlike the Southern Pacific. And of course, it will have mail catcher arms. One of the things that we get a lot of requests for here at Athearn is undecorated as well as unlettered. And for this initial run, we wanted to offer that to you as well. We're going to offer these in Pullman green as they were in 1911. And we're going to offer these unlettered green Pullman green cars in both a single as well as a two set. So you can decal these to your home road or your railroad of lives, whichever one you'd like to do. Now, the features on the unlettered ones are very similar to the ones that we just talked about. Again, since they're early 1911 era, they're going to have underbody gas tanks, wooden side doors, and mail catcher arms. Next, you're going to see Southern Pacific again. However, this era is a little bit newer, 1949 for this one. We're only offering this one car, SP number 4404. And this too will have an underbody, this one, since it's 1949, the gas tanks are gone. This one's actually got an underbody battery box that replaced those tanks. Wooden side doors and mail catcher arms omitted for postal storage service. We had a comment on our social media this past week where we posted, I believe it was the SP version, and somebody said, "You forgot the mail catcher arms." Actually, no, we didn't. This particular prototype does not have those because it was simply used for postal storage service. We're going to see that in a couple of other cars coming up. So now we're going to jump into the 50s with Union Pacific. Now this is a 1957 era Union Pacific car, number 1413. We're only offering the one car. And other than it not being Pullman green in the home road colors, this is also going to have the underbody battery box, not the gas tanks. It will still, however, have wooden side doors. And this one too, the mail catcher arms have been omitted because it's being used mainly for postal storage service. And then last but not least, 1955, and you can definitely use these into the 60s, 70s, wherever you would like. These are maintenance away cars. Now for the maintenance away cars, we're offering these both as a single as well as a two-car set. The maintenance away car that's offered as a single has the car number 111277, and the two-car set will include road numbers 111279 and 111280. Again, since these are maintenance away, you could probably get away with using these right up into the 70s, maybe even the 80s, depending on your frame of reference. Now, the details for these models are going to include, this is going to be a little bit newer, so it's going to have the underbody battery box. It's still going to have wood side doors, and the mail catcher arms, of course, they're omitted. They don't need to be added because it's a maintenance away car. A lot of these cars ended up being used as tool cars, and so they lived out their final days working as a maintenance away piece of equipment. Now let's talk about the features, overall features of these cars. And you're going to want to take notes. Now, if you don't remember everything that I'm talking about, you can certainly go over to athearn.com, select the new announcements tab, and select the 60-foot postal standard car, and you can see all these features on the PDF. These are all going to have arched overlapping roof panels with the actual simulated rivets. These are going to have the pinch gas vents and piping, roof vents paired with an 8-inch diameter. All of them will have overhead train line conduit, stove smokestack, drip strips over side and end doors, formed wire grabs and ladder rests. Here's something for you guys that are into detailing. You're going to want to take note. The roof is magnetically attached, so you can just simply take that roof off and put it back on again with magnets. If you're familiar with some of our cab roofs on the SD70 series locomotives, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So somebody had asked earlier, do they have an interior? Yes, they do have an interior, but with that magnetically attached roof, it's a lot easier to get figures in there and do some extra detailing. These will have a mail slot on each side of each car, mail catcher arms on each side of car. However, keep in mind, they're omitted for the postal storage cars as well as the maintenance away cars. Pressed steel doors or wooden doors, that is based on the prototype. Diaphragm on the ends, stirrup steps, and 2 underframe versions. As-built underframe with the gas tanks like we talked about with the first 3, and modernized underframe with battery box per the prototype, like the later ones. These are going to have brake cylinder and triple valve, air tank, generator, which is body hung. Of course, you'll have the McHenry scale knuckle spring couplers, 6-wheel trucks, window glazing. There is an interior that you can decorate and add to your heart's content as far as figures and detailing. And the minimum radius on these is 18 inches. So even if you've got a small pike, you can definitely run these on your small railroad. So these are packed with features. These are going to sell out fast. I highly recommend that you get your pre-orders in with your Athearn dealer by Friday, December 27th. So keep that in mind. We were only about a week and a few days from that date, and you're going to want to get these pre-orders in. I'm pretty excited about these, and based on the reaction that we got at Train Fest, a lot of you guys are excited about these as well. All right, let's see if there's any questions on these postal cars, and then we'll talk about some trailers. Randall says, hello, Jim, and chat, just listening in while on the road, heading to Pratt, Kansas for the remainder of 2024. Safe travels, Randall. I bet a lot of you folks probably traveling to see family and friends this time of year. I hope everybody out there is traveling safely. Let's see what else we've got. Jeffrey says, I have one of the old blue box baggage cars and maintenance away equipment on my layout. I'm sure a lot of you guys that have been into this for a while probably have at least one of these. Keep in mind, this is all new tooling, so while they may be based on those, they are pretty much all new tooling. These are going to be really nicely detailed models. Let's see what else we've got. I'm going back a little bit to see if there's any questions. Terry wants to know, Frisco had some similar cars, but with a 4-axle trucks. I wonder how much work it would be to convert this car. That I don't know off the top of my head. In fact, a lot of us probably won't know until these get here. But I'm sure folks like yourself are probably going to do some kit bashing as well. So let's see if there's any other questions. It looks like a lot of people just kind of checking in at this point. I'm going to go down to the current questions. A lot of folks are A lot of folks are enjoying these cars. Terry wants to know, will future passenger cars like these have magnetic roof? That's an interesting idea. I can't speak for the product developers, but I'm pretty sure that they will. Will all of the passenger cars throughout the entire lineup have that? Probably not. Probably just the newer ones that we're working on. Good question, Lucas. Are the interiors going to be brown or green? I actually don't know yet. I'm going to guess on the earlier ones, they're probably going to be like a tan color. But if I get an answer, I will let you know. But it's kind of early yet because we just announced them. But we will keep you posted. We're trying to do better. Product development is doing a really good job of giving me images to post on social media, and we try to do that as much as possible. And so we'll probably get some updates in the future. Tom says, I just tuned in. What did I miss? What are the available road names? Briefly, available road names in 1911, you've got your choice of Union Pacific, Southern Pacific, or Illinois Central. You also have a 1949 Southern Pacific version and a later 1955 on up Union Pacific version. And then we're also going to offer a maintenance away that is for 1955 on up. Now, if you want complete details, if you missed that at the beginning of the show, you can go to the Athearn website and select the new announcements tab and download the PDF. It gives you complete details on the cars, what roads we're offering, what road numbers, as well as details. I have some folks that are asking any chance we can have my railroad. At this point, what you see is what we're going to be announcing. Now that once these go out the gate, once these get produced, you'll see these probably produced in more roads. If you want to get a jump start on those future roads and have them considered for future runs, go ahead and send us an email at athearn-product-suggestions@athearn.com. Again, that's athearn-product-suggestions@athearn.com. Let's see. No Canadian cars in this run. Not this time. Possibly in the future. Let's see what else we've got. Any other questions? No, just some folks asking about future runs and future roads, which, like I said, send us an email and we can start getting those collected for the next time we run these. All right. Well, let's talk trailers for a little bit now. And we're going to be talking about the 48-foot Wedge trailer. Now, the trailer that you see on your screen here, this is from a previous release from many, many years ago. I don't even have the item number for this one, unfortunately. It's been a little bit since we've offered these. And we wanted to offer these again. There's a lot of folks that do model the 1980s. So if you're a 1980s modeler in HO scale, you're going to want to take note. We're going to be offering one road number per road for this run, but there's a lot of variety in here. So let's talk about what we're going to offer for this run. Again, you've got till Friday, December 27th to place your pre-orders on any or all of these trailers. Now, if you're like me and you were riding in the back of a Toyota Corolla going on vacation somewhere, you probably saw a lot of these from the back window of the car, or maybe you're slightly older and you were driving said car and saw these on the highways and byways of America and Canada. The first one that we're going to be doing is Yellow Freight. Yellow Freight's van number is 212114. We're also going to be doing Pacific Intermountain Express. Its trailer number is 68-1297. Now, I read these road numbers out for you because we have previously released trailers in these roads before. However, they're different numbers. So maybe you've got trailers from an earlier run you want to add to your trailer roster. Well, this way you know you're not going to have to worry about duplicating road numbers. And then finally, we've got Roadway. Roadway's trailer is 90948. These, of course, were seen everywhere in the 80s and 90s. Another one that was really popular and colorful was Consolidated Freight. Consolidated Freightways, this is trailer number 379-1397. The one there in the middle, really colorful, really cool. NW Transport. This trailer is 4835. And then finally, for you guys that like undecorated or unlettered, we're going to be offering this white trailer. It's already painted up in white. All it needs to be done is decals. Now, the good news is there are still decal companies out there that provide decals for these type of trailers. So you can either take your pick of those decals that are already available, or maybe you want to have your own trucking company. This is a great way to make up your own trailer. So let's go back to the earlier example and talk a little bit about the features of these trailers. Now, of course, these are already assembled. You don't have to do anything with them, with the exception of the unlettered one. Unlettered one, you're going to want to put some decals on or do some painting to your preferences. However, the other ones are pretty much ready to go. You want to weather them, that's fine. They are going to have separately applied mud flaps. And the wheels, they're going to have either the 2 or the 5-hole wheels, and of course, they're already factory painted. Rubber tires, of course, and these are highly detailed injection molded bodies. They are really nice bodies. The injection molded process really makes these trailers look really sharp and clean. And then, of course, they're painted and printed for realistic decoration. Athearn product developers have spent a lot of time researching these different trailers and basing the artwork based on actual color photographs of the actual trailer. So there you have it. These, just like the postal cars, are available for pre-order until Friday, December 27th, which is a week and a few days away, which is hard to believe. And as we're talking, we're almost done with the 2024 year. So there you have it. I'm going to set some time aside here for some questions that you may have. And another reminder that next week's Train Tuesday will be pre-recorded. We're pre-recording it because next Tuesday is Christmas Eve. So in observance of Christmas Eve, that will be pre-recorded. Okay. I see some folks asking, what about Walmart trailers and Amazon? Well, that is a licensing thing. And so far, I don't know where the legal department is on that, but that's going to require licensing. And sometimes licensing isn't as easy as it should be. Let's see what else we've got for questions. Sid wants to know what locomotives are scheduled to arrive at the end of this month. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but if you are a subscriber to our email newsletter that we call the Athearn Dispatcher, there should be some news in there this week of some coming products. You know what, Sid? I lied. There is something that I do know that we're hoping is going to get here by the end of the year. If not by the end of the year, the very beginning of January, is the SD60M Triclops. That's the Athearn Genesis SD60M Triclops. We just shot those in the photo studio a couple of days ago, and they're absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. So if you're a BN 90s fan, you might want to start talking to your dealer now. If you pre-ordered these, your dealers may start calling you in the next few weeks. We're really hoping for that shipment to get here before the end of the year, but just keep in mind, this type of year, shipping can be kind of crazy. So realistically, it might be the very first of 2025. Let's see what we've got here. Terry, I don't have any updates on that particular locomotive right now, the NS 1065. I don't have a sheet in front of me, unfortunately. Anthony wants to know, will the trailer have different numbers? Well, we're only offering one road per trailer, and those numbers that are on the trailer that I read during the live, those are different from previous releases. So if you have a roadway trailer from the previous release, the road numbers will be different from the new ones. So you'll be able to mix and match without any redundant numbers. Will the New Year's Eve Train Tuesday also be pre-recorded? I don't know. That'd be kind of fun to do on a. We could maybe do a special New Year's Eve thing. We'll have to think about that. I didn't even think about that. I know I'll be working that week, so that's a possibility. If you guys want to see it, let me know in the comments. Oh, Glenn, I am so with you on this one. Most definitely. Please bring back the Coca-Cola trailers. I wish we could. That's another one where it's licensing. And Coca-Cola is one of the most expensive licensings. In fact, Coca-Cola is probably one of the best marketing campaigns ever, going all the way back to the turn of the last century. Coca-Cola and the Christmas holiday and everything that they've got, it's one of the most well marketed soft drinks in around. And so as a result, getting licensing from them can be tricky. That's not a no, but it is definitely pretty tricky. We might not be able to do that depending on how much they want to bring to the table. Daniel wants to know any update on the GP38-2s announced earlier this year. Well, if it's a pre-order announcement, there are probably not going to be any updates on that. We do have some 38-2s coming in about mid to late winter of 2025. And those are the 38-2s that are the first to have the classification lights based on the prototype, as well as lit number boards. So those we've actually posted an update. Product development sent me some pictures, and with the exception of one locomotive, it was pretty well received. One was kind of well, you know how we are with colors. People like to let's say debate colors on locomotives, and the Guilford unit was definitely subject for debate. So, and hopefully, I'm really hoping I'll actually have production samples of those at the Amherst show coming up next month. By the way, we are planning on going to the Amherst Railroad Hobby Show in Springfield, Mass. That's coming up the end of January. We're going to be at a new location this year. We're going to be in the Better Living Center. I believe we're in 34A. So we're basically smack dab in the middle of the Better Living Center. So hopefully that's easier for you guys to find us. We're going to have a pretty good sized booth, and I'm looking forward to seeing home again, as well as some of my friends out there in the New England area. And hopefully I'll get to see you, stop by the booth, see the new stuff that we're going to have. And since John's coming with us, I'm hoping we're going to have some cool stuff that you've not seen before. Let's see what else you got. Terry, just for you guys that want to know, Terry did some quick research for us, and this is interesting to know. So take note if you're modeling the 80s, especially if you're modeling the 90s, did some research, and the 48-foot trailers were first introduced in 1982. That makes sense. You wouldn't see any in trailer on flat car service until the end of the 80s. Equipment was designed for the 40-foot vans. That is correct. After the 45-foot trailers started riding the rails, only then did you start seeing these in TOFC service. But obviously, they're on the highway. So yes, that is correct. In fact, I remember seeing these in mid 90s, late 90s in Rochelle on TOFC service. So thanks for jogging the memory there, Terry, and thanks for sharing that with our fellow modeling guests. Let's see what else we've got. BN Green 1970 says, any word on the F-45s before the website changes? I think they were due in January. Is that still the case? Not in January, I can tell you that. Going to be a little bit later. I want to say they've pushed those back to about early to mid summer. So we'll see. Keep an eye on our email newsletter. We're trying to work closely with the factory and actually get some ETAs to you guys. So if you're signed up for the email newsletter, you'll see some news on some of the stuff that we've announced earlier. Sorry, Wayne, no Wheeling and Lake Erie on this episode, but we've offered it in the past and we'll offer it again in the future. What else have we got? Any other questions? Wardell knows all about licensing. He said Budweiser and Coors are very protective too. That is true. Here's a good, Randall, I'm going to put your comment up here because it is so true. BNSF orange is brutal to get right because the real units were so inconsistent. That is absolutely correct. BNSF orange fades funny too. I've seen units that almost look like a salmon peach pink color after a number of years. And again, one thing I want to add is when we're looking at our models, when we're looking at our locomotives, there's so many things, there's so many variables in colors. Let's talk about this briefly since the Guilford thread kind of brought up a lot of debate on colors. So first of all, when you have a new factory locomotive, if it's leaving LaGrange or Erie, it's going to have paint applied to it based on the customer's specs. Let's use CSX for an example. Now we all know that SD50s that got repainted later in service that maybe originally had been chassis got repainted. Maybe they got repainted in LaGrange. Maybe they got repainted in Waycross. Just because of that, paint can be different pigmentation saturation from plant to plant. Another thing to realize is not only are you going to have differences between EMD and General Electric, but railroads quite often have their own shops where they paint locomotives. So while the new locomotives are going to have a pretty specced out paint scheme, very consistent within its fleet, locomotives that are older or from predecessor roads that get repainted are going to get repainted at their shops. And while the paint codes are as close as possible, they're not going to be exact. And that's gotten better over the years thanks to computerization of paint and the paint mixing process. But in the earlier days, especially going back into the 60s, 70s, even into the 80s, the science wasn't there as much. And the other thing that I want to remind folks is to us, these models, they have to look a certain way. We want the blues to be the correct blue. We want the grays to be correct. We want everything to be correct. You got to remember in the real world, these are tools. The railroad, as the railroads became bigger, as they became more of A to B destination type of deal, the marketing of the paint schemes was not as big of a deal. It was more about getting the freight from point A to point B. The paint is just a vehicle to keep rust off the locomotives. So as time went on, sometimes guys would do their own repairs. Now, I know of a story that I got from someone that works on the Boston and Maine Historical Society where there was an incident and they needed to fix some equipment, and they literally went to Obashan Hardware, grabbed a can of spray paint, and fixed it on the fly. That stuff happens in the real world. Now, going back to Athearn, when we do an Athearn model, especially an Athearn Genesis model, whenever possible, our product developers try to find original paint chips or paint draws. If that's not possible, they'll work with historical societies to try to get accurate matches. Sometimes we'll go back and forth with our historical experts until we come to a consensus of what is considered to be the accurate color. That being said, that color is based on what that locomotive looked like the day it was delivered in that paint scheme. As locomotives are doing their job, they are subjected to weather, and that weather fades them out and it changes the hue of the paint tones. So that is a real brief discussion on paint theory and color theory. We didn't even talk about atmospheric conditions or distance or things of that nature, but do realize that all model railroad manufacturers do put a lot of time on color matching locomotives and freight cars. Hope that kind of answers some questions. BN Green says, you are correct. The ex Great Northern Branch near my house can have consists of 4 GP60s with 6 different shades of orange. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Here's a good question by Approach Diverging 013. Jim, do you have any updates on the Athearn parts availability, especially motor and 6-axle units? I did hear that we're working with purchasing to get a expedited parts order in, so I'm hoping in the next month or so. I'm hoping by the time you see me at Amherst that will have that problem taken care of. But they do know it's a priority. We are working on getting those parts. Lucas says California State Railroad Museum has SP colored drift cards. I have photos of them as well. Photos are okay, but the original is better. I'll tell you why. Photos and computer screens, they can vary from camera and different displays. If you've got the original color draws and you're willing to share them, you can also send that kind of information to Athearn-product suggestions at athearn.com. All right, I'm going to answer two more questions and I'm going to let you get back to it because you may either be A, traveling for the holiday season, or B, maybe you're getting some work done on your railroad. And I'm looking forward to the new year so I can get back to my railroad. Let's see what else we've got. RX 500 update. I don't have an RX 500 update for you other than I do know that product development is working on it. I do want to let you know too, this is a ground up model. So it's nothing's I don't even think the gears are being used from anything currently. This is a totally new model. And we're pretty excited about it because it's actually going to open the door for perhaps more models in the future. But it is being worked on. As soon as we're to a point where we think we can actually start producing these, we're going to make an announcement and let you know what roads we're going to be offering for that. And I'm thinking it's probably going to be sooner than later. Let's see. Any chances of you making some Christmas train sets like the BN or BNSF Christmas train or the Kansas City Southern Holiday Express? Mainly holiday cars, not the passenger cars or locomotives. I'll go suggest that. Yeah, please do suggest it. I gave you that email. And yeah, are we going to do train sets or anything like that? Keep an eye on us. The best way to keep an eye on us is to watch us on social media, which is Facebook, Instagram, X, and of course the YouTube channel and our email newsletter. That's probably one of our best ways to get news. If you can't always make the Train Tuesday lives or other lives, you know that every Friday we're going to send you an email with some information in it. So go ahead. If you've not signed up, go to our Athearn website and sign up for the Athearn newsletter. All right. Canadian says, let's have an Athearn New Year party showing your Athearn units online. There you go. I got to get my layout done. What you guys don't know, the N scale layout behind you is a work in progress. There's also off camera, which you can't see, is an HO scale, basically two modules that make up a switching layout. And I'm hoping that once layouts get to the point where we can actually have some running on there, we can switch between N scale announcements and HO scale announcements with the layout in behind us. So we'll see. It's a cool idea. Yeah, but like I said, if you want to see about a live on New Year's Eve, put it in the comments. I can't guarantee we'll do it because um, it's not totally my call, but we'll see. Sid wants to know, has the website been reflective of the Triclops photos yet? Not yet. Watch it. It may update this week. So keep an eye on that. Typically, though, you're going to see photos of new models on the newsletter than before the website. Not always, but typically. Okay. Well, with that, it looks like we are going to wrap this up. Again, remember, next Tuesday is going to be Christmas Eve, so this program will be pre-recorded. Jury's out on the New Year's Eve thing. We'll see if they let me do a live New Year's. Might be kind of fun. Maybe we can do a New Year's resolution model railroad style. How's that? Until then, I want to wish everyone out there a happy and safe Christmas. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. I wish everybody out there to have some great time with family and friends and keep it safe. And while you're with everyone, open that railroad room up, let people in, let them see what we do. It's a lot of fun. It's get everybody into the railroad room, and who knows, you might plant the seed to get a future model railroader started on a great hobby. Until next time, I want everyone out there to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some modeling. Merry Christmas and high greens. Take care, everyone.